Okay, so we're going to continue writing equations of lines being given certain pieces of information. Today's information is a little bit different. A lot of times today they do not give you the slope, so you have to figure out the slope yourself first. So here's the slope equation. We'll refer back to that. If you need to pause the video, you could do that, but we're going to move on to problem number 1. So notice it tells you that it passes through the points 2, 7, and 1, 5, but they don't give you the slope. So since they give you 2 points, you need to use the slope equation. So if you want to label x1, y1, x2, y2, then we're going to find the slope. It's 5 minus 7 over 1 minus 2. So that gives me negative 2 over negative 1, which reduces to positive 2. So that's my m. Now, from this point, I'm going to use the point slope equation from yesterday, and I can pick either of the 2 points. So I'm just going to pick this first one and the m. So I'm going to do y minus 7 equals 2 times x minus 2. And then I just need to solve for y. So I'm going to distribute the 2, and I get 2x minus 4, and add 7 to both sides, and I get y equals 2x plus 3. And then I'm all finished. Okay, problem number 2 is the exact same type of problem. They don't give you the slope, so I'm going to do y2 minus y1 equals, or over x2 minus x1. So negative 2 minus negative 3 and 4 minus 2. So notice that this becomes positive 1 over 2. So my slope is 1/2. And I could pick either of the 2 points. I'm just going to pick the first one again. So I got y plus 3 equals 1/2 times x minus 2. So if I distribute my 1/2, I get 1/2 x minus 1. And if I subtract 3 from both sides, I get y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Alright, so flip over to the other side and we're going to continue on. Numbers 3 and 4 are, 3, 4, and 5 are actually the same type of problem, so I'm going to go through those pretty quickly. We're just going to do 2 minus 5 over 4 minus 2, so the slope is negative 3 over 2. And then I'm going to use my first point. So y minus 5 equals negative 3 over 2 times x minus 2. If I distribute my negative 3 halves, I get negative 3 halves x plus 3. And then if I add 5 to both sides, I get y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 8. Alright, so moving on, 4 and 5 are the same type of problem. So 3 minus negative 5 over negative 1 minus negative 3. So that becomes 8. And this becomes 2. So 8 over 2 is 4. So there's my slope. And I'm just going to take the first point. So y plus 5 equals 4 times x plus 3. So y plus 5 equals 4x plus 12. And if I subtract 5 on both sides, I get 4x plus 7. All right, and then the last one like that, they give us 2 points. I'm just going to find my slope. I have 6 over 3, which is 2. So y plus 1 equals 2 times x plus 2. So I get 2x plus 4. And then if I subtract 1 on both sides, I get y equals 2x plus 3. All right, so now these problems get to be a little bit different. If you notice that they tell us now that they're perpendicular or parallel to a particular line. So let's go back to these notes. If it's parallel, the slopes are going to be the same. And if it's perpendicular, we're going to have opposite reciprocal slopes. So let's look at the one that's parallel. We're just going to skip to number 7 first. So I need to know that parallel lines have the same slope. So my slope of this line is the negative 5. So my line must have the same slope, and therefore the slope is negative 5 also. Now they give you a point, so now you just use the point slope equation. And that's it. So solve for y like you've been doing all along, yesterday and today, and then you should be able to get to the final answer. So negative 5x minus 27. When it's perpendicular, the difference is you need to do opposite reciprocal slope. So if you look at number 6, we're going to take the opposite reciprocal. So opposite means if that's negative, this will be positive. And reciprocal means flip it over. So my slope is going to be positive 5 over 2. Excuse me. Now I'm going to use this point that it goes through. So y minus 6 equals 5 over 2 times x plus 4. So 5 over 2x plus 10 equals y minus 6, and then add 6 to both sides, and I get y equals 5 over 2x plus 16. All right, and then the last problem. Now this one is not in y equals mx plus b form, so I'm going to need to solve for y first. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. We did this earlier in the chapter, isolating the y, and then dividing everything by 2. So now that I have that, I want to look at what's my slope. So that's the negative 3 over 2. Since it's perpendicular, I'm going to take the opposite reciprocal. So if that was negative, this will be positive. And if it was 3 over 2, I'm going to flip it over and make it 2 over 3. So that's the slope that I need to use, and then there's the point that it goes through. So I'm going to do y plus 4 equals 2/3 times x minus 6. And then I'm going to distribute my 2/3, so that gives me, 4. Okay. And then I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides, and I get y equals 2/3 x minus 8. And then I'm all done. All right, so the main thing you got to remember is parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. And then we're all done.